All right, this is chapter 6.6, the geometric sequences. All right, so first of all, let's talk about geometric sequence. What does the word sequence mean? Okay, sequence means that a set of numbers. So for example, I give you a set of numbers of 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. These are all numbers, okay, in a set. And then the list just gonna keep going and going continuously. Okay, for the second example, I give you guys 64, 32, 16, and 8, and then the list just keeps going. I put the dot over here, okay? All right, so now let's talk about geometric. So what makes it a geometric sequence? So if you guys look at the first example I gave you, uh, 1 to get to the next term, 2, 2 to get to the next term, 4, there's a pattern here, okay? So this is what you're gonna do. You have to multiply by 2. Multiply by positive 2, multiply by positive 2 on, to get to the next term. Okay, so how do you get to the next term? So that's going to be 32 from 16. And if you want to just find out what the next few terms are, you just have to multiply by 2. Okay, so what happens if you just can't tell? If I tell you that this is a geometric sequence and you just can't tell what the how to get to the next term. First of all, let's talk about what those two means. Okay, these are called the common ratio. We use the letter R, okay, for common ratio, which means I just have to multiply by positive 2 in this case, okay, to get to the next term. In order to find out what the common ratio is, you can use any two terms. So for example, I can just box the 16 and 8 and say, okay, so I'm going to use the next term, which is 8, to divide it by the previous term, which is 16. Okay, that's going to be 1/2. Your ratio is going to be 1/2. In this case, knowing that ratio is 1/2, okay, remember that? Okay, so I'm going to just say that to get to the one term to the next, you have to multiply by 1/2, multiply by 1/2, multiply by 1/2. So what is going to be the next term? If you multiply by 1/2, that's going to be 4. Okay, and I told you guys that this list of numbers are just going to keep going continuously. Okay, all right, so there's something I want you guys to know is that the first term, we have a notation. We call this the A1, okay? So on and so forth. Second term, A2, okay? If I just circle the sixth term, this is going to be A6, okay? It's just something good to know. All right, so let's look at the next one. So I'm going to do all the even numbers, and let's find out what the common ratio is for the given geometric sequence. Number 4. So you can just use any two numbers and say that ratio is the next term to divide it by the previous term. So in here, the ratio is going to be positive 1/6. Let me use a different color for number 6. So number 6, you can just box any two numbers. Okay, the ratio is going to be 10 to divide it by 1. Okay, ratio is positive 10. So number 8, the ratio, okay, use the two numbers that you feel comfortable with. So I'm going to use negative 18 and 6. So use the 6 to divide by the previous term, negative 18. That's going to be negative 1/3. That's going to be a ratio. Pretty simple stuff, right? All right, next one, number 20. So how do you find out the next three terms? So like I told you guys, box any two numbers to find out what the ratio is. So ratio is going to be 12 divided by negative 3. So that's going to be negative 4. So knowing that ratio is negative 4, you just have to use 192 to multiply by negative 4. Oops, negative 4 to get to the next term. So the next term is going to be, sorry, it's positive 192. My bad. Okay, the next term is going to be negative 768. Okay, you're going to use negative 768 to multiply by negative 4. It's going to be positive 3072. Okay, multiply by negative 4 again. That's going to get you negative 12288. Okay, those are the three numbers you need to know. That's the next three terms of the sequence. Look at number 22. Okay, so use the two numbers that you feel comfortable with. I'll use -3 and -15. So ratio is -3 divided by -15, which is going to be 1/5. Okay, so how do you find out what the next term after -3? So -3 times 1/5, that's going to be -3 over 5. If you use -3 over 5 to multiply by 1/5, okay, so that's because that's the ratio, you're going to get -3 over 25. Okay, so use the -3 over 25 to multiply by 1/5 again. You're going to get -3 over 125. Okay, those are your next three terms. I'm just circling them. Okay, I might need some space for number 24. Wish me luck. So number 24. So what's the ratio? So I'm going to use 4 and 6. They're both whole numbers. So ratio is 6 over 4. It's going to be 3/2. Okay, so how do you find out what the next term after 6? So it's 6 multiplied by 3 over 2. Okay, you'll be able to simplify. You can just do it whatever you want. Okay, multiply across, simplify it. I'll use a simplify method. So 6 and 2, you can simplify it to 3 and 1. Now you can multiply across. So it's going to be 9. So 9 multiplied by 3/2, that's going to find out what the next term is because you have to find the next three terms. Okay, um, so 3 times 9, that's 27 over 2. Okay, and then the last one, use 27 over 2 to multiply by 3 over 2. And this one is going to get you 81 over 4. Okay, my bad, not enough space. That's going to be 81 over 4. Okay, those are three terms. I'm circling out for you. And that's number 24. Okay, so here is an equation for the geometric sequence. So it's giving to you as AN, so you don't know how many terms because this list is just keep going up, equals to A1. A1 is the first term. R is the common ratio, N minus 1. Okay, so knowing that this needs to be replaced by a number, this is the first term. Okay, and then ratio is what we need to replace with a number. It's the common ratio. I just write ratio. Okay, these two needs to be subbing by numbers. The remaining an and n minus 1, you can just keep it as those. Okay, I'm going to show you guys two examples. So number 26, I remind you guys this is the equation. Okay, so number 26, let's find out what the ratio is. You already know what A1 is, which is good. Okay, let's find out what the ratio is. Just use any two numbers that you're comfortable with. So I'm going to be comfortable with using these two numbers. So it's going to be 15 to divided by -3. So your ratio is going to be -5. And I'm just going to put it into the equation or the formula. So AN equals to A1 is 0.6. The ratio is going to be -5. Okay, to the keep the n minus 1 as n minus 1. Okay, that's all you need to do. Just different color for number 28. So 28, just use any two numbers you feel comfortable with. I'll just use the first and second. Okay, ratio is equal to 0.9 divided by 0.1. Okay, and you know that ratio equals to 9 now, knowing that the first term is A1, which is 0.1. Okay, so how do you write the equation for this? So AN equals to, the first term is 0.1 multiplied by ratio is 9 to the n minus 1. That's all you need to do for number 28. Okay, so that's it for chapter 6.6. Stay safe, stay healthy, and then just keep doing the makeup work.